Case, 'tis the season to oy vey is mere. I do not like the season. I do not like holidays. Why not, you may want to know. Well, I grew up with parents who were culturally Jewish, but they didn't know how to celebrate anything. And so the holidays yawned. And all I would do was come back from the library with a stack of books, this big, and gnaw my way through them like a termite until I could go back to school. And I didn't even like school, but I hated the holidays more. And then I met a man who felt the same way as I did. I mean, he had a fine nose for hypocrisy. That's the problem with the holidays. You know, jolly and bright, they're not. And there's so much expectation. And so, how we celebrated was we listened to Robert Bly, that grumpy poet from the Midwest, who said, in the dark time of year, the seeds lie on the ground waiting for the signal to come up. And so we lay around in the dark, as we're early in the relationship. It was very delicious. But then we had children, and you cannot ignore the holidays when you have children. So I tried. I mean, I followed around my friends who knew how to do this stuff. I didn't, and you should also know I'm very cheap. I hate to spend money. But there I was in the big box store surrounded by all this plastic crap. But I got a lot of presents for those kids. And you may wonder how it worked out. Well, there's a photograph that summarizes it. There's two small children crouching each over their heap of presents, looking daggers at each other. Comfort and joy indeed. But we did it, because you do it more and more half-assed until we were so deep into the human potential movement in which you're supposed to tell the truth. And the kids were in elementary school. We just looked at each other and we said, Christmas is bullshit. We're just going to cancel Christmas. And we told the kids, and they just looked at us like this because, grown-ups are autocrats. What can they do? And we had no idea that our daughter had spent the entire semester in art shop making us presents. And when we canceled Christmas, she took them out to the back field and she burned the books and the things and the drawings, and she chopped up the weavings and she smashed the pottery and she buried it all. And I didn't even know about it until I told a version of this story. And then she said, you know what it was like for us. And it still hurts my heart. But in any case, eventually the children leave home. Oh, don't have to worry about Christmas anymore until I got the job of my dreams at the library. And you know what they did? Every holiday time, we give each other gifts. What was I going to do? Well, I could bake biscotti, and I did. And they were very hard. That's the way I like them. And nobody broke a tooth. But I knew that this was not my path. I knew I had to find something else that was close to my heart and free, because again, I am so cheap. And I realized words, I realized poetry. And I came across this poem by Rumi, who wasn't even hot stuff way back then. This was back in, early 90s. And it even had the G word in it, but it spoke to me. And I figured if it spoke to me, speak to somebody else. So I typed it out and I ran it off on the copy machine, and I cut out these rectangles of poems. And even I realized that this was not very festive. And I found myself kind of cutting one of these rectangles into an egg shape. And then I said, I can make pouches. I have all this scrap material. I like to sew. So I made the pouch and I put the poem in and I held it up, and it was pretty flimsy. So I said, what else could I put in that pouch? And I remembered nature's free bounty because I walk on the beach. And so I pick up these polished stones and shells and sea glass, and I dropped one of these each in the pouches. And then I brought them to the staff meeting holiday party in a basket, like you offer biscuits that had a cloth on top, but the strings for the pouches were hanging out. And I said, just give it a tug, see what comes out. And they pulled out their pouch and they looked at it. And they opened it up and they read the poem, and some lit up with delight and some looked a little puzzled, and they held the stone or shell in their hand. And I wasn't so far off because some actually hung them on the Christmas tree. But in any case, from that day to this, I have found the right words that I need every holiday season, and I make them into a little card. Now, no more props, just the card, and I send them out or hand them out all over the place. And the sources are not just from books. I work in the library. I love books, but they could be song lyrics. One of them was even graffiti, which may sound kind of familiar to you. Um, Dance like nobody's watching, work like you don't need money, love like you've never been hurt, if only. And then there was Leonard Cohen. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. So in any case, here I am sending these words out every year. The list has gotten pretty huge, and the stamps are very expensive. And my cheap self says it's worth it to send those words out into the universe and have them come back to me. So that's how this person who hated the holidays got almost a little cozy with them. Thank you very much.